Testing 1, 2, testing. Okay. Okay. All right, so we had a little review at the very beginning. Sounds pretty good. Sounds like you guys have a lot of good questions, which we are definitely here to answer. Welcome to day 4. First, the homework. Did you bring your RF device? Let's see. Everyone brings one? Okay. Yes? Yes? You brought radio. Cell phone will work. Yeah. When we get into avoiding interference, that's going to come into play with that chapter. That's why you guys brought these. So everything you brought, we'll be talking about each of those objects. All right. Back to the outline. Congratulations, you've made it to day 4. You know what you get to do today? More reading. Just kidding. You guys should have read to chapter 13. That means you should have finished the book. Should have read all of the back cover and read the back cover, hopefully. Next week, we get our testing session. So, yeah, you guys, we'll talk about that more tonight. Again, we're going to help you guys get your FRN number. Anyone who wants help here tonight, we'll help you out. You already got yours, good. We'll help you guys tonight. If you need something, we'll get you guys set up. You guys been taking the online ham radio practice quizzes? Good. And have you guys been watching any of the stuff on YouTube? No? Okay. Good news, after this whole class, we're actually going to be posting that as a free video after all that. Yeah, you did. You couldn't hear us. We do apologize to all the people who are listening in for last week's malfunction of the audio. We fixed it, hopefully. Yeah, we'll do sign language. Make sure that green dot's still moving. They are. Okay, so today, here in your welcome portion, our digital modes is the first thing we're going to go with. Then we're going to go into space contacts. These are short chapters, so we're actually going to do those back to back. We're not going to take a break in between because they only take about 20 to 30 minutes each one. Then we'll take a break, avoiding it. The break could be around the 6 o'clock time frame. So with that QSO party we're talking about, we can go out there for about 20 minutes if we want to do that. Instead of just a 10-minute break, we'll be perfectly fine with that. Yeah? Okay. We'll do avoiding interference, do another 10-minute break, and then we'll get into the fun chapter of safety with William here. And then we'll end it up and we'll work on the stuff for next week. Any questions before we get started? Cool. Let's jump right in today. I like this. What is the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? What's the answer to all? 42. Huh? There. Okay. Digital modes. How many people here have a computer? Did you know you can hook your computer up to a radio? We're going to talk about that here. Don't worry, you do not need to memorize the ones and zeros format. You don't need to know that 4 ones equals a specific letter or the combination of any of them. Computer lingo, they deal with that. Today we're going to talk about what digital modes are. How am I able to use digital? What should I know about digital error checking? And can I use amateur frequencies for remote control applications and amateur television? Yes, you can be able to watch TV through ham radio. All right, so what are digital modes? Well, a digital mode is any of several methods of radio communication in which information is encoded into a series of discrete signals represented by digits or characters. Ones and zeros is essentially what this is. 1 means that it's full, 0 means it's empty. By combining those in a specific pattern, they create the letters. All right. A computer may be used as part of an amateur station for logging contacts and information, for generating and decoding digital signals, even sending Morse code, CW. Amateur radio digital modes include Morse code. My watch keeps going like crazy. This is Morse code. Maybe. W0 STU. This is PSK31. This is my favorite digital package. It really is. The fax machine that goes over the airways. Everything we just said, CQ, this is W0 STU. That just came in that same transmission on the PSK31. MFSK, there is 5 different options for MFSK. And the one that we're exampling here is MFSK 2000. This is used for transmitting images or document files from computer to computer. Sounds a little sci-fi, huh? So that was probably an image, an actual photograph that gets sent out. Now that photograph on MFSK 2000 would actually get sent out 4 times in that time frame. The computer then goes through line by line and says, okay, I missed this pixel. It hears it and plops it in place so you actually get the full image. And then RIDI. This is an old school style, which is fun. Sounds kind of like what? That. Let's think of old satellites. Sputnik. That's the kind of concept they use to send and receive data from each one. Now, the last one is packet. Kind of sounds like static, right? It is. So packet is connecting between 2 computers that have an active connection between. When you used your AOL for dial-up, you were connecting your computer to the network. Same concept. So when you would connect the 2 together, you'd use the packet, and then those computers are now linked. You can send files back and forth. You can type on your screen, and the other screen just starts seeing it. No more noise in between. All right. They connect to where it sends it through MFSK, so you don't hear anything. The computers just talk to each other. You turn your volume down. During the connections to make sure it connects, and there's usually a ding at the end when it connects. All right, so how can I use these modes? Well, yeah, International Morse code is used to send CW and amateur radio service. You can use different types of keys on your amateur bands, including a straight key, which is like this one here. This is a trainer straight key. So I'll go ahead and pass it around. Thank you. That's the only thing I can do. Pretty much, but it's not really old school. It's still used a lot. Amateur radio operators. They still use it in the military for sending some communications. For training, they do. When did they stop that? Oh, bummer. Oh, so amateur radio operators only, apparently. All right. The other one is an electronic here. That's like this touch key here. When your thumb or your finger would touch it, you would connect the circuit, essentially. And that would be, one panel would be the dots, the other panel would be the dashes. So when I did the dot, 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 all the dots are on one side and dashes on the other. That takes some time to know which one's which. And then you have paddle keys. but instead of using just your thumb and finger to create a circuit, you're actually putting pressure upon each key, like what you're doing with the straight key where you're pushing down and connecting the terminals. The paddle key connects two terminals, one on each side. You'll see if anyone's used to paddle key or touch key, you'll see their whole hand. They just go back and forth with their hand when they're doing it. It's actually kind of cool. The other thing you can now use is a computer keyboard. There is a program that we use where you can actually type in what you want to say and hit send, just like you would for an instant message or a text message on your phone. You hit send, and you all of a sudden hear your computers just start spitting out the Morse code. And you can set it to the different speeds. Right now, the most common speed's 5 words per minute is the common speed, but on the computer you can go up to 100 words per minute, and only computers can really catch that unless you're like really good. Dad, do you know anybody who can take down 100 words per minute in CW? Yeah. All right. Digital are commonly transmitted with the assistance of a personal computer. Packet radio is a digital communication method popular with FM on VHF and UHF bands. This includes emails and text messages, file transfer, position or telemetry reporting, and other data. And this is what it sounds like. Over here. Come here. That's a packet. A TNC, or terminal node controller, connected between a transceiver and a computer, is what you need for a packet radio station. So when you have your computer, you would hook it up to the computer itself. There's specific, just a USB plug, goes right into the back. Then all the different wires that you would need for the speaker, the microphone, the control, and the ground wire connects into the terminal controller. This way, the radio can now be used by the computer to both change the frequencies and send the data and information needed by actual files. This is what I was talking about, where you can do the pictures, the actual documents, stuff like that. In PSK 31, which is phase shift keying 31, this is a low rate data transmission used for keyboard to keyboard text messaging. We brought up AOL. Do you remember AOL Instant Messenger? You type it out, hit send, wait a few moments, and something else will come up. Text messaging today. That's what this is. Instead of using the internet, it's using the radios. When you hit send, it sends an actual signal. It sends this noise. Wrong button. The aliens are speaking to us. That is PSK 31. This is very popular in ham radio. It is a lot of fun. Now, in this example for your test, you'll need to know that you need a sound card interface. However, in ham radio, one of the things that we like to do is tinker with things. How can we make things better? There is a way that you can actually use a laptop and a headset like what I have and actually do the same thing over the radio without using one of these. It's a manual operation instead of the control operation that this has. It's redneck, but you can do it without having to go out and buy a new interface. So just by starting out, by the way, it is here in Colorado Springs on that little radio that Jeff has. We have the frequency here in Colorado Springs every Tuesday night. There is a net that actually talks using just digital. They'll talk back and forth. So for an hour, all you hear is that noise, that all day long. When you do the redneck way, that's all you hear all day long. If you have a sound card interface, you can turn your actual speaker off, and the computer can still hear it through the interface. Makes it a lot better if you have roommates or your mother living upstairs who does not like the sound of that digital signal whatsoever. The sound card interface provides the audio to the microphone input and converts the received audio back to digital form and creates this. This is called the waterfall. This is the actual audio that the computer receives. If you see that there's 3 different lines, there's 3 different audio signals that it's picking up. You find the strongest signal, you put the red dot on the strongest signal, and it will actually start typing out, usually in English. This one, right about, this is all gibberish here. All this right here, DELU3FLV KN. KN stands for what again? Acknowledge. And DE is this is, here's the call sign, end transmission. Computer just picked that up on that audio signal and brought it out to semi-plain English for us to understand. There are the buttons up here like transmit, receive, BTU, CQ, call, different stuff. These are all programmable buttons. You have the same thing. If you're going out there and you're making a contest and you're going to always type out CQ, 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 DE, KD0, UQI, CQ, CQ, CQ contest, you can program that in one of these buttons. You just hit the button and it automatically transmits it for you. You don't have to keep typing it out all day waiting for someone to respond. You just keep hitting that button, no one responds, hit the button again, no one responds, hit the button again, oh, someone's there. Now you start typing and talk to that person individually. So it's actually a lot of fun. I've done it. If you can't tell, I like digital. Automatic Packet Reporting System, or APRS, sends an automatic position reports from a mobile station using a GPS receiver data. What this is, on top here, this little bump in the radio itself, is a GPS receiving antenna. It now knows where in the world you are. The computer chip inside can well figure out your exact latitude, longitude. You can set how long in between transmissions it sends out. Now, since this is radio, it doesn't need cell phone service. You can be in the mountains with no cell phone anywhere in sight, and this, as long as the antenna can reach the repeater, or the node as it's called, you can be able to show up on a map. I want to pull up the APRS map. I was pulling up. APRS network digipeaters operate under automatic control. Remember we were talking about who controls what? To forward packet signals. Packets are forwarded to an internet gateway station and relayed to internet mapping sites, such as this one here. Dad, your APRS is not up now, is it? It's probably not up. KD0. That's right. You are not found in the location database. You haven't used it enough. I do know that SFY should have done his. There we go. All right. Let's see if his car was moving. Ah, cool. He's leaving work. All right. Yeah. One of our operators, KD0SFY, is a amateur radio emergency service ARES coordinator now. He moved up. He, in his car, has a radio that always has his GPS unit tied in. So wherever his car is, you can see where he's at. See, it's the old-fashioned way of spying on your friends. But if you can see these red dots, is every time that he changed his direction on the map. His system is it's either every 10 minutes or every direction change more than 20 degrees on the compass. And it knows by which way you're going on what you're doing. So you can see it takes a while sometimes for each transmission to come through. For me, when I am chasing a storm, mine's actually every 60 seconds I have a transmission go out. That way people know pretty close where I'm at, just in case something goes wrong. You can use a radio such as the one that Jeff brought along. You can use an additional add-on that connects into that, or you can buy the radio with APRS already built in. The built-in APRSs run about $120 more than the base, correct? Depending on the brand. Kenwood, you're about $120 from the base. Yeah. No, there is one channel specifically for APRS, and the radio already knows that one frequency. Correct. Now, the ones that don't have the GPS built in, you have to program the number in, and it's a 143 dot something number. And yeah, now, here's the other thing with APRS. Yeah, lots of screeching. If you have your APRS radio, you can actually send out a text message using your keypads. Remember the old cell phone way, press the 5 3 times to get the letter you want? You can do that on that radio face. So if you fall in the middle of the woods and you can't get up and you need help, you type in help and hit send. Somebody out there will receive the help from that message and say, well, wait a minute, that's KT0UQI help. Well, now they can jump on their map, KT0UQI, oh, you're here. 911, what's your emergency? I have an individual who has reported help. This is his exact GPS coordinates at this time. Or the last known GPS coordinates that was 8 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago was here. Now that search and rescue went from 8 miles wide, now it goes down to half a mile, and they can find you really quickly. And they can also pinpoint who can get there quicker. They can. Yes. Yeah, this is the common screen size is about like this. 2 lines is all you'll get to see. Some of the, yeah, help on way, and it's text message. You only get 150 characters, I think, per message. So it's just like the old-fashioned instant messaging, text message. But the good thing is every time you hit send, you're not putting money out of your account trying to send messages out. But it's great for when you're trying to... My phone won't stop connecting to my watch and telling me that my phone reconnects, so I won't take my watch off. One of the bad things about having technology. See? Correct. Of the operator. Yeah. So packet doesn't do the location normally. Packet, you would have to tell in the system where it is. Packet is mainly designed for using from home computer to home computer, or a car with a laptop. Correct. Correct. On APRS, this map is free to anyone can use. So if you guys want to go, it's just aprs.fi. Easy as that. Just log on there. I looked up a specific call sign because I knew who was out there, but you can look up a city and then you can see everything. So, for instance, let me pull. Want to go to Denver? We're going to Denver. That's a lot of information, right? Let me explain these. This one here that says WX, those are weather stations. They are stationary, they do not move. These weather stations, instead of connecting to the internet to report the temperature, the wind speed, all that, go through the radio digital packet service. So if you knew I'm near Denver International Airport, you can actually type on your radio, look up KDEN, and it will give you a full report on what's going on at Denver International. This symbol here is a tower with an antenna on it, K0GUR-R. This is a repeater. They use APRS to control the repeater's operations. So it's logged in our system. You can see the little cars all throughout, cars and trucks and cars, all that. Those are, huh? I don't remember how. Oh, wait, I think I do know how. I think I do know how. Here we go. I know how. Speed greater than 2 miles per hour. Cars. So you can both select a different filter list. Your weather stations only. Your web stations are those that are the connections from a radio repeater down into the actual internet, so you can both see everything. Digipeater thing. iGates are for Apple products and phone products to be able to track. You can use your cell phone to actually send your information out. It is possible. But the cars. So, see all the different cars that are driving around Denver, then their lines that they have. You can both see where everyone started. So he turned his car on here and started driving away. It's a great way to track your Uber driver. No. But look at here. This guy went here, and apparently he can fly because he's straight lane on this road and then keeps going. He probably does not have the 20-degree turn. It's probably set to just 10-minute intervals. So he was down here. 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, he was up here. Yeah. But it's probably whatever his intervals are set to, he has that way set up. So it's not a perfect system, but it's a great system to use. So there's a dog over here. You can use it on the handheld radios like this, the one I showed you with the little knob. You can actually set what you want to display on your radio. And it goes dog, car, truck, house, bike, anything like that. So if you have your handheld, this guy's dog walking, probably, because you can see all the red dots close to each other. Now we know he's walking his dog. Oh, no, he needs help. Oh, look, he has a dog. He probably has a dog with him. Hey, animal control, just FYI, you might want to know this guy who's hurt has a dog. Kind of concept like that. Does that work for everyone? Oh, here it is. It's 144.390. But if you turn on to that frequency and you listen to it, all you're going to hear is meow, meow, because it's sending out the information. That's all you hear. It makes no sense to our human ears, but it's sending and receiving, but the radio does all of it. Yes. Yep. That's why it's an automatic packet reporting system. Your location, your speed, your direction, your ID. Yes, location. Yes. We saw someone walking a dog on the little image of a dog going around. All right. Just tears it up. Yeah. So this is IRLP. This is a lot of fun, and you guys get to use this. IRLP is the Internet Radio Linking Project, a technique to connect amateur radio systems via the Internet using voice over Internet procedures, or VoIP. Now, VoIP is a method of delivering voice communications over the Internet using digital techniques. And a gateway is a station used to connect other stations to the Internet. So, this tower right here is a repeater tower connected to a computer. That is a gateway. It's using radio to computer. That's your gateway. That's Echolink. We'll get to that in a minute. Your computer is then connected over the Internet to other computers to another gateway with the radio tower to you. Now, how many people have ever wanted to go to New Zealand? You can talk to them through this. How you don't have to know anybody. Exactly. Now you can be able to get to know someone, talk to them for a few weeks, and say, hey, can I come visit you so I don't have to pay for a hotel? What you would do, for some reason I may have accidentally hit the laser button. You would talk to the computer, and there's a 4-digit code. You would connect to the repeater just like you would any other repeater, dialing in its receive frequency. I'm sorry, your transmit frequency and your receive frequency. You have your repeater set up. You go to that repeater, and you click transmit. This is KD0 UQI activating IRLP. The repeater will come back with a beep. You then click the push to transmit button. Turn this off. You click the button and dial in the 4-digit code. Release the button, and it will then say connected to New Zealand IRLP. Blink. You can now talk CQ, 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 KD0 UQI from the United States. Anybody on? Someone from New Zealand will get on there. Hey, how you doing, man? It's a little Jamaican. But you can talk to them. You can talk to other cities in the United States from a little handheld radio just like that. You can talk anywhere in the world. There is what's called an IRLP directory. That book, I actually had one in a 3-ring binder, and it was 58 pages long, front and back, of all the IRLP node numbers everywhere. When my parents lived in Grand Junction, if we couldn't use the Colorado Connection repeaters, there was another repeater that they had that was IRLP, and I had a repeater that was IRLP. We'd dial up at specific times and talk back and forth to each other just at Grand Junction and here from little handheld radios. So there's a lot of applications for it. Use your radio to someone else's setup. Yep. We have 2 now. The 2 IRLP repeaters now, because the third one went down. And every once in a while the networks go down and different issues happen. It's technology. The best thing to do is look up on that repeater directory, find your city, and start calling up on the repeaters. Is this IRLP in use? If someone comes back and says this one's down, now you know this one's down. Go to the next one. Oh, this is not in use. Go for it. And you go out there and you just start dialing numbers. Now, the trick is if there is New Zealand's talking to New York, you cannot connect to the New Zealand repeater because they've already connected it to someone else. Like we talked about computers talking to each other. Their only link. You can't get in on that link. Once they break their link, now you can connect up. So there's different points you can be able to do with that. No conference calls. Ish. If anyone's on that repeater that has a radio, they can join in. No, because when Puerto Rico's system went down, their internet went down as well. So they couldn't use the internet system because it already went down. Yeah. All right, now, Echolink, same thing as IRLP, except for you can actually connect your computer to a radio. So you can sit down at your home computer with a headset like this, a laptop like that, and type in the repeater you want to talk to. And from your computer, you just hit the space bar as your push to talk button. And then it will go out to a radio antenna and talk to wherever you want to go. I have never used Echolink. I've only used IRLP. I've been told Echolink is great, especially if you're just sitting at home and you're bored or you're at the office and bored. We kind of can't do it. Our office is mobile. Can't sit on a computer while we're driving a bus. They don't. They don't like you using it on there. No, you can go in a hot air balloon. You can't even just talk to people like that. It doesn't work. SOS. He's always on. He has 3 radios in his house, one in the garage, one in the living room, one in his office. They're all on. Uh-huh. Yeah. But you still have to, not in an actual aircraft. The Echo Link on your phone you can do on the internet now if you have an internet aircraft. Yeah. If you want to pay $10. Yeah. And if you use your regular radio inside of the aircraft, it's actually FAA says you can't do that because it's a radio frequency, and any radio frequency devices cannot send or receive while in the air. So that's a federal offense to do that. Yeah, you could mess with some avionic or something in the very front and maybe crash the plane. I don't know. No, so we finish all this. We are 6. It starts. It's a 24-hour. So it's 48. 40 hours. Correct. Okay. Yes, you still have to use proper radio procedure even if you're using a computer or phone. Yeah. Oh, you'll use it. Okay. Essentially, we've added a different avenue that you can be able to explore. That's all this is, as long as you have internet. This is one of those, it's fun when everything works. This is not a disaster communication platform. This section is all, what can you do for fun when there's no disasters at all? Uh-huh. Correct. This is how it broadcasts. Yes. we no longer hear the annoying noise. It goes back and forth. We can turn the sounds down on the radio. They still talk back and forth to each other through the radios. Technically speaking, if I get on, I was going to draw it. Where are you going? Microphone.
Misusing a term that maybe. Hold on a second here. I mean, yell that because I'm not on wired up. We're misusing a term. Packet. Packet is a specific type of computer-based amateur radio transmission that we use. Packet is the term that they use for transmitting data, computer-based data, the ones and zeros, across radio waves. So it's not a packet, it's packet radio. So it's a type. It's like IRLP is a type of radio transmission. Packet is the type of radio transmission. So we could use our computer tied in with this TNC, tied into our radio to send computer messages. What he was showing here, PSK 31, where'd that one go that had the whole list? There. See, no. This is really important because it's kind of a core on the whole computer stuff for the radio. Good that you're asking this. When we say reporting system, packet is a burst of information. When this thing. Yes. Right. It's all data. It's all digital. Yep. Okay. So when this radio sends out an automatic burst of information is your lat long of where that radio is sitting. It sends that out, and then on this and no, because you can have well for APRS.
APRS only does those for the location, the speed, the direction, and your call sign. That's all that particular packet talks about. No, that is you talking any form of type, any digit, anything as a whole is a packet. That packet can change by whatever you're doing. So if a packet is like if I'm sending you a text message, that message that dings to your phone, that whole message is a packet. The text on the inside changes every single time. Yeah, that'll work too. Yeah. Yeah, it'll work too.
And think of it too as an old telegraph. They're hearing these tones, they're deciphering it, and they're putting the message.
Well, that's different than packet because that's what's code. Yeah. see the waterfall that Chris was talking about? See the beginning of the nice yellow color, the end of the nice yellow color, everything in between. That's your. When you dial into that frequency, you actually on that frequency, and you center, the computer will decipher that packet of information and gives you this. So this is the
top line's all gibberish.
IRID locator. It's not gibberish.
Yes. Yeah. And it changes for whatever you need it to be.
No, you're fine.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah. Morse code is totally different because you have a series of dashes and dots or tones that symbolize a letter. Yeah, a character. They symbolize a character. Yep. So the dot is the character C. Any station. Okay. So CQ. That's what. So that's why it's different than the packet, because the tone symbolizes characters that I'm transcribing into a word. This packet of information, computer's deciphering and giving me what that means. Does that help? Okay.
I'll get back to where I was. Thank you.
What some of the note is.
You're about to go through that, I think. You still have to go through the notes. Actually, I think that's right here. IRLP nodes. I knew we were onto it. NODE, node. A specific IRLP node using a portable transceiver's keyboard to transmit the node ID. The node is its number. When you get your call sign, that is for you, just you. Instead of giving these a letters and numbers call sign, they gave it a node, which is a 4-digit code. That's what the nodes are. Man, you're like right with me on these. I like this. You use your Dtmf tones, which is the access to the IRLP node, is accomplished with the tone board. I'm not going to press the buttons because it's just like dialing a telephone. It's the same when you dial a telephone and you hear a deet, 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 when you do that, when the old-fashioned version, cell phones don't do that anymore, but when you did it old-fashioned and you'd hear a different tone number every time, that's what this is doing to that repeater. That repeater knows the difference in between the tones to connect to the node, to be able to connect to a different node somewhere else in the world by your numbers that you've poked into the keypad. You use a repeater directory to be able to find these node numbers and also any other repeaters in your area. So if, let's say, I know it's not a real one, but let's say the 970, the one that we've been talking to you guys about, 146.970. On the repeater directory, it will show 147.970 negative 100.7. We learned this, right? You have your frequency, the offset, and the CTCSS. What was the CTCSS? That's that subauditory tone, the one that, yes, CTCSS, that's in your test question is how it says CTCSS, but it's the subtone. Now, if it was an IRLP repeater, there would be a 4-digit number, and it's actually 3673. For a different repeater, not the one that we're using here, would be the next number, and it would usually say underneath it IRLP on the same line. That way you knew this repeater has this node number. Correct. For instance, in real life, the 970 that sits on top of Pikes Peak does not have IRLP capability. Because of where it sits, it has no internet connectivity. So it cannot connect to the internet, therefore it doesn't have that node number. But there is a repeater here in Colorado Springs that actually sits on the hill by UCCS that does have that number I just put up on the board. But I don't remember its frequency, and I don't want to confuse you guys on the different frequencies. So, correct. Correct. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. At any point in time, anything in this unit has a way to identify what it is and where it is. And when it is, yes. Yes, there is. A digital packet can be misinterpreted if only one transmission digit is omitted or incorrectly decoded. Error checking methods help reduce this problem. There are some ways you can error message check. Check the sum. This permits error detection when including in a packet. The header says your routing data, error correction, and control data. It is an initial information in a packet that may include the call sign of the station to which the information is being sent to, a checksum. In your packets, pull up the page that says radiogram. In your booklet, yes I am. In your booklet, pull up the page that says radiogram. It should be towards the end of it. Yeah, that one right there. Keep going. Towards the back. Same function, except for what you guys are seeing on radiogram. This is what we do on voice. Everything you see on the radiogram gets done here through the digital. I haven't finished this yet. What do we have? Break? Who wants to go listen to Hawaii? Okay. We're going to go ahead and get a 10-minute break right here in the middle, and we will come back from that. Everything's still going live. Go ahead, we'll step outside and we'll continue this in a moment. Mm-hmm. No, I've only been a high-end operator for 5. Didn't you have to fix that one? Okay, we got to get through this digital. We are behind. Yep. We let you guys out there a little longer than I would have liked, but you guys were learning so much, and I didn't want to bring you guys back in, and he was having too much fun. So, all right, we got everyone back. Okay. A bit error rate is the count of number of emitted altered bits in the received signal due to noise, interference, distortion, or faulty synchronization. What you guys just heard out there, that interference, the other people talking, all that static that was in there, that's the interference that could cause a bit error rate. So error rates are likely to increase if VHF or UHF data signals propagate over multiple paths. Do you remember when we were talking about that before? Where the signal hits a building, hits a mountain, comes into the same thing, and you've got another signal coming in. Now what's going on is that same message is just barely off of each other, and they're coming in at roughly the same time. The computer is like, oh, I don't know what's going on, and it will error. The best way to be able to check the errors is on that front of that radiogram we talked about, how it has that count. You count the characters before you send the information out. No one actually does this. And then when you receive it, the very first part of the header should be count 26. You should know there's 26 characters in there. Yes, for critical stuff, it is. Most people, when we're doing this stuff, it's just an avenue of fun. So that's where the count comes in. When we do Aries Digital, we're doing that every Tuesday. They have those counts in there. So a message will come in. There's 26 characters to this message. It'll say, whoever's the first one. So it's usually Aries, I don't know how to, Aries staff, count 26. That's on that header. Then comes the data, which is the actual message with the count. And then the trailer, the computer automatically detects if it's missing characters. So it knows the character count was 26 and only got 25. It sends back, I only got 25 out of 26, dude. You missed one. And it'll resend it. That's why you hear that data, and you'll hear it go back to somewhere else. And you'll hear it go back, and you hear it go back, and the computer are talking to each other. Service. Very good. Something or other works. There's an S. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is not the God of War. My wife brought that up to me when we were watching Wonder Woman. The God of War's name is Ares. I know. But my wife heard Ares and looked at me and said, wait, your amateur radio emergency service group is the God of War? I'm like, honey, it's the wrong spelling, but sure. If it makes you remember this for the test, sure. All right, so can I use amateur frequencies for remote control applications? Yes, you can. You can fly remote-controlled airplanes using radio. There's a guy down in Pueblo that hand builds all this stuff with the radios, and you can well fly it. This guy, this is a different one, built a model scale of Air Force One and actually can control it using the ham radio frequencies. And I think they said his range was 10 miles. Yes. Yeah. The maximum power is 1 watt. But, so you just saw Dad used his car to talk to Hawaii at 75 watts. My grandfather across the city had to use 600 watts for his antenna. If you are building the antennas correctly, you can maximize that signal on 1 watt. See how it relates to this? So you can get 10 miles on 1. No. 5 watts is QRP. Sit on top of Pikes Peak.
The tropical conducting principle that could carry 1 watt down to 1. And it also depends on where they are. If they're on top of, one of those with a good dipole antenna, or even a Yagi pointing back here, if they're on a Yagi on top of Pikes Peak in Hawaii, and you get some good atmospheric conditions, yeah, you can do it. It's possible. It's not impossible. You wouldn't do it every day.
Controlling these aircraft too, if you really want distance out of it, you would use a Yagi to get longer distances out of it. But yeah, again, not an everyday thing that you want to do. All right. Okay. Let me bring that on this one a little bit, but it ties in. It relates and ties in all at the same time. So, Dad used 75 watts. Grandpa used 600 watts. The main thing that's different between the two is 600 watts. You can be able to stretch your signal out farther easier. When you are trying to do contesting bragging rights, the lower this number is, the better, in some contests, more points you get. So for field day, which comes up in June, there is one thing that's on 5 watts. If you can talk to any station outside of your state on 5 watts, you get bonus points for making those contacts. You get double bonus points if that contact is also on 5 watts and you talk to each other. 2 field days ago, we talked to San Bernardino, California on 5 watts, and they talked back to us on 5 watts, and we got double points for that one contact. No. Okay, let's not get on that one. Let's do that one after the class. Let's do antenna matching. Here, I wrote it down here, antenna matching. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that one later, because that one goes into 18 rabbit trails that I can already see. The watts that you talked about correlates to this. That's why we use that. So, roughly, yes. And we can talk about that after the class. That's a good thing to learn for you personally using on your own. You don't need it for the test. That gets into general licensing questions. That's true. Okay. It is. Can I use amateur frequencies on TV? Although it's not digital mode, amateur television commonly uses computer connections and software to generate video signals. There's 2 types of amateur TV. We have slow scan TV, SSTV. This uses about the same bandwidth as a single sideband transmission. He was just talking about the upper sideband, lower sideband. That's a single sideband transmission. This transmits 1 frame at a time over several seconds or minutes. You guys remember this. Remember when you see the scrolling on your TVs? That's slow scan. When you would see it would change on a scroll every time it would change to the next scene, to the next picture, whatever, that's slow scan. Fast scan TV, or SFTV, the bandwidth is 6 megahertz on 70 centimeter. This is the whole band. Instead of just using one side, it's using both sides. That is what we normally see if you have a TV antenna on your house and you're using the old-fashioned over-the-air analog television receive. Huh? It's old-fashioned still. We all went to digital. FSTV utilizes the type of transmission standard indicated by the term NTSC. This is what we normally use on our TVs now. Make sense? In other words, it gets rid of that scrolling bar. The old-fashioned scrolling bar. You can get started with amateur TV with just a video camera, a computer, and an amateur TV software. One of the applications that you can use this for is if you want to share with friends or whatever, what you're seeing, what you're doing, stuff like that. Other than that, I use it for storm chasing. It's kind of fun to take video and go over the radio wave like that. But still, there's limitations to it. There's specific coding you have to do, and that software programs all of it on that video for you. All right, summary of digital modes. Computer to radio to TV, yes. Yep, because your computer takes the video in, goes to the radio, and the TV has another radio on it to be able to. You guys have all the over-the-air TV channels you can use. You know how you can go to channel like 5.1, 5.2. Ours is actually 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. And we also get into 58.5, 58.6, 58.7. For TV, already has that radio capability in it that can pick up what our signal transmits out. So you don't have to have a separate ham radio to the TV. It's already built into the TV with the new digitals. Yes. It was the last MegaFest. Yep. MegaFest is a cool thing to go to. It's in July. It's the ham radio swap meet in Colorado Springs, actually up in Monument. And there's a bunch of booths out there that teach you different stuff of more in-depth on ham radio. When you guys get your license, notice I said when you guys get your license, because we all know you're going to pass, right? Someday, go to these swap meets, and you can all get cheap gear, or you can be able to also just learn the information there. All right, we talked about CW. This is Morse code. Your packet transmits email, APRS data, and text messages. You need the terminal control for that. APRS is the automatic packet reporting system. This uses the GPS receiver and sends your signal out. PSK31 is your low data transmission. ILP and Echolink uses the internet. MFSK uses the multiple audio tones. FSTV is fast scan, and radio remote controls for airplanes. If you need to see this, it's on page 168. So that'll help you guys. I know I went through it kind of quick. Are there any questions on digital before we jump into space? Okay. Let's jump over to space really fast. If you can tell, all the newfangled stuff goes to the younger generation, while all the tech stuff and mathematics stays over there. Yes, Dad. You bring it up every time. Okay. Yep. I will be the first person to admit the mathematics and the how it works is not my strong suit. I understand it enough that I can actually use it and learn with it, but I could never teach it. That's why I pass it off to Dad. Dad's forte is definitely this is how it works, and I've just never had that. The stuff that you can do with it has always been my area because I keep exploring what's up, what's new, and all that stuff. But he can turn around and teach the same stuff. He's actually done this last class, 2 classes ago. He taught the entire section from front to back. All 13 chapters was his before we were able to get more instructors and really help out with that. So, space context. What is a ham space station? How do I use satellites with ham radio? And what's different about space signals and contacts? What is a ham space station? Well, space station by the FCC Part 97. A space station is an amateur station located more than 50 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. You will kind of need to know what a space station is. Low Earth orbit, or LEO. Most amateur stations are in low Earth orbit up to a few hundred miles above the Earth. Amateur satellites are commonly placed in LEO polar orbit, which the satellite passes over or near the poles of the Earth. This way, the satellites will pass within contact range of virtually every position on the Earth of the course of its orbit. Here's your polar Earth. You just go up and down. Essentially, when you're looking at the sky, it will go from north to south quickly. On a equatorial orbit, equatorial orbit, it stays just along the equator. All of this northern part of the hemisphere and the southernmost part of the hemisphere cannot get to those. The International Space Station is on an inclined orbit. This is why when you look at a straight map, that ISS does this loop through the country, and all across the world does this loop, and it shifts regularly. This is why we can all look up on our maps and say, okay, it's going to start in the southeast and go to the southwest only a little bit, and the next one is a little bit more. The next one goes a little bit more. That's why we can all have different time frames of the International Space Station. Amateur satellites are operated by telecommand and may send telemetry back to operators, such as the power status of the satellite. This is an amateur radio satellite that's, I think this is the picture of it before it actually went up. Telecommand is one-way transmission to initiate, modify, or terminate functions of the device at a distance. This is you're controlling the satellite. Telemetry is a one-way transmission of the measurements at a distance from the measuring instrument. So the satellite would send back its telemetry. Where is it in the sky? What's it doing? How fast is it going? Where is it in accordance to whatever its GPS marker is? When you look up which satellites you want to talk to, it'll tell you what its GPS marker is set to. Some of them are set to the North Pole, some of them are set to a specific city in the US, some of them are specific to their country, whatever that case may be, it's all different. A satellite beacon, a satellite may transmit information for space in its beacon. The very first ever beacon was, of course, Sputnik. All it did was just beep, 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 beep. That's all a beacon is. It doesn't really send data on a beacon. It just sends the noise. That way you can all track where it is by how loud that noise is. Is it overhead? Is it on the other side of the world? Can I hear it at all? That's what the beacon really is for. Amateur satellites are essentially repeaters in orbit that will repeat your phone or digital transmission across the broad area of the Earth. Some satellites have this capability, some satellites don't. These satellites that act as repeaters in space are very quick. You only get about 10 minutes with them before they disappear and you can't talk to them anymore. An FM packet, commonly used method of sending signals to and from a digital satellite. You will need a directional antenna that operates on 2 bands. I only put up 1 band on this just to be able to show you. This is the 70 centimeter. 70 up, 2 down, or is it the other way around? That's what it should be, right? Yeah. I always have to remember because I confuse myself with it. There it is, 70 up, 2 down. In satellite mode, satellites have an uplink and downlink pair of frequencies across 2 bands. This is the arrangement, and you'll need to know this for your test. This antenna is set up for 70 meters only right now. Thank you. 70 centimeters only right now. Yep, as soon as I sound like, that's wrong. 70 centimeters. Now, you can see those holes in this antenna, I can screw in the other 2 meter on the same antenna. So I can turn it this way to talk to the satellite, turn it this way to listen to the satellite. Talk, listen, talk, listen. I just need one antenna for it. These BNC connectors connect to the actual antenna portion. German element. This part connects to your radio. You only need one, but you can still have on two. Some radios, such as the Baofangs, have both frequencies available in the radio. So you can have your upper one, you have 2 frequencies on it, be your 70 centimeter to talk, and your lower frequency to be the one that you listen to. So when you let go, it's just like using the repeater, where it would automatically switch back and forth. That one radio does them both with one antenna. Dad, how much are one of these antennas now? 50? Okay. I know you did. I think it's 50 for one of these. So a $50 radio setup and a $50 antenna, $100 you can be talking to satellites. It's not very expensive when you come up with something like that for hours and hours and hours of fun. And these beams are also used for more than just talking to space. Remember when we were talking about fox hunting? These are what we use for fox hunting. You would then use it to find your device here on Earth. So for those, or if you put it onto a tripod, there's a tripod lamp on it. You will turn it either way, or some of them actually have lamps that go onto the tripods themselves. If you have them on a tripod, you can use it when you're backpacking, or if you're going up to the mountains for a camping trip. You can well put all that set up. So these things have more than just talking to satellite use. As I throw it across the room. Glad I have my car. The non-standard way is the opposite. Uplink of 2, downlink of 70. Some satellites have these. Most of them are foreign country satellites. They do the opposite. For your test question, you need to know 70 up, 2 down. To talk to the International Space Station, 70 up, 2 down. The satellite tracking program uses the satellite elements as input, along with time and your station location to calculate the path of where the satellite will be overhead. Tracking programs may provide maps of real-time positions as time will pass. I've never as elevation start. Essentially, it's peak point, maximum altitude, and the end of the pass. The apparent frequency changing due to Doppler shift may also be included. For instance, if the Doppler shift we're talking about with the atmosphere and everything changes with it. If this frequency is supposed to be set at 146.460, but there's a Doppler shift, these programs will actually have the algorithm already in there to tell you what that shift should be. So you can tweak your radio to that frequency and make the connection. That way you don't have to sit there as the satellite's passing overhead. So I need to subtract 25, add 97, 153. Oh, there went the satellite. Already has it to there. And you can be able to do this months in advance. It's all it is. It's just the computer is a calculation of all the different satellite passes. Now, the Doppler effect probably won't be months in advance, but if you're saying, okay, I'm off on Thursday, I'll stay up till 1 in the morning on Thursday night and work with all this, you can be able to look at it on Monday and see what's going to be in the sky. That way you know, okay, well, I really need to set this up and work with that and do all the different stuff. The other thing about this, you don't need to go out to the middle of nowhere to see it. It's all radio signals. You can do this from your backyard of your house. It's not like going out to seeing the meteor shower. You have to drive an hour outside of town just so you can see the things. Satellites will pass over. You can see the International Space Station from here in Colorado Springs when it passes by. It's easier when you have a bigger station like that because you just point to it as it goes by. Spin fading is the rotation of a satellite and its antennas cause spin fading of signals. It's a fluctuation in strength or quality as the antenna changes polarity. They are eclipsed by the satellite body. For instance, if you have the antenna down here and the satellite's spinning. As it gets towards the end of its path or the beginning of its path, that antenna, as it's spinning, may be blocked by the actual body of the satellite. Now you're getting that picket fencing type sound. You're missing sections of the audio because it's at its end. Doppler shift, an observed change in signal frequency caused by the relative motion between the satellite and Earth station. Atmosphere puts a big point into this. If the atmosphere is condensed more together, your Doppler shift is going to be different than when it's at full max. Also, the Doppler shift, who remembers the whole thing we were talking about in school, the Doppler effect, when you've got a train coming at you, and you can be able to hear that sound, but the sound has its relativeness. As it gets closer, the sound is actually behind the actual train. So as soon as the train passes you, you can still hear the sound of the train horn as it's already passed. That's not because your brain's memorizing it. It's because the trains are going faster than the actual sound was created. So the Doppler effect continues that sound on. Then you hear the rumble of the train after that. That's the same concept. This satellite is moving at hundreds of miles per hour around the Earth. Same concept. So what license do you need? Well, any amateur who has a license transmitting on the satellite upbreak frequency may be the control operator. You guys. A technician or higher class may contact the International Space Station using the 2-meter and 70-centimeter band. Now, for your power, like any other stations, any other amateur transmissions, use the minimum amount of power on the uplink transmission needed to complete contact. In other words, don't push 150 watts just to talk to the International Space Station, just to make sure you hit it. There are programs, when you get the satellite program, it'll tell you what is the desired amount of power you should use. If it says 10 watts, use 15 if you want to make sure that you hit that. If it says 50 watts, which I don't think any of them you need 50 watts to talk to, you can use the 50 watts. Most of the time for the International Space Station, 5 watts is plenty. You can go talk to the ISS on 5 watts. Was it Stu that did the contact? He said that he used 5 watts on his contact. So just the maximum power on that handheld is all you need to talk to the International Space Station. You got to think there's no mountains in the way. There's no trees in the way. You have direct line of sight to this. You have no Earth curvature for it. It's a straight line shot. As it's flying overhead. Yep. Correct. But you don't need 100 watts to be able to talk to something that's right on the edge of our atmosphere. That's what that whole thing is saying. Because if you are, let's say I have 100 watts pumping out of this antenna. This antenna cannot use 100. Let's say I have 100 watts, and I'm pointing down here to start talking to the International Space Station. What am I doing now? I'm pushing 100 watts into another city, another state. So now they're hearing my transmission. Well, no, you want to start trying to talk to the International Space Station right when it hits that horizon. So when you start off, if you're doing 100 watts, now I'm shooting 100 watts across the country. If I've got 5 watts, it's only going to go down a little ways because of all the effect that the Earth provides with it. As you're going up, you'll now have the connection to the International Space Station. This is why you should start before the ISS is supposed to come up over the horizon. You'll be pointed ready for it. You can then use your tracking program to be able to make sure that you're right on the angle until you can see the International Space Station. Most people like doing this at night because it's easier to be able to put that dot right at the tip of the antenna, and you just go with the dot as you're holding the other end. Hi, how you doing? Yeah. The longest visible time is 4 minutes and 58 seconds if it's at a perfect crossover for the city of Colorado Springs. That's all we get. Exactly. You better be ready before it goes. Now, like I said, the International Space Station in a 8-hour period can actually fly over the Colorado Springs area 9 times because of all its trips that it does. But that first trip may only be not even 5 seconds. Next trip might be 30 seconds. So you want to make sure that you have the most time you can. Most of these transmissions, if you're good with it and they're actually at the radio, you can make it in under a minute. KD0 UQI International Space Station. It's International Space Station, KD0 UQI. We're from Colorado Springs. We're from the International Space Station. 73s, KD0 UQI clear. ISS clear. Next station. It's a contest with the ISS. That's what you're doing. You don't need the whole 5 minutes. You're not chit-chatting with them the whole time. Just establish contact and be done. Yep. Yep. And what tasks they have to do. Yep. Also, right now, they are not on the radio for the next month because they just got a brand new ham radio going up to the International Space Station. Yep. So it's going up there and they're putting it in right now. It takes a little longer for them to develop things in space. I don't know why. Just some random thing like that. So when it gets out there, they're putting a new radio in and then they'll be back on the air. So by the time you have your ham radio license, they should be back on the radios. All right. Are there any questions? None? Okay. I have a question for you. Do you guys want to take another 10-minute break before we get into interference? Or do you want to go into it now and then take a break between interference and safety? Press. Dad, you're up. Okay, before Dad gets into this, you guys have brought your RF devices. You had your cell phone. You have what'd you bring? Okay, so it's a controller for fans and lights. Register opener, cell phone, radio. He cheated, he brought my own radio here. When we start talking about these devices in part 97, it's going to correlate to each one of these different devices that we have out here. So each of these things could cause interference, and we're going to talk about how you can be able to identify what the interference is and how to solve it, and talk about filters more in depth. You have the remote, you go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the causes of radio interference. Filtering, we talked about what is earlier, so we're going to get into this a little bit more. Steps necessary to eliminate sources of interference. What about interference in my mobile station? And how do I reduce interference from other hams? We heard a lot of interference tonight because everyone's just overlapping. That's the ham world. We love it. Okay, so what are some of the comments? Signals from any other station direct radiated to other receiving devices. What we heard tonight is just overlapping. Not when they're transmitting, they don't necessarily hear those other stations. So it depends on where you are in correlation to all those stations. Because somebody on the East Coast could be talking to somebody in Iowa, but not hear the West Coast station. But I can hear both. I can hear both. So that's interference for me. Does that make sense? Okay. So conduct along AC and other devices. If your house is near power lines, you could hear the buzzing sound, and that's electricity running down those power lines that you're hearing on your radio. Not much you can do about that, but there are some filters that take to the power line or in your power wires that are coming to the house to filter. But the big thing that we're seeing today on this AC power interference growth farms. People that are they're doing illegal marijuana grows in their houses and their garages or whatever. Bananas. No, the harmonics of the grow lights. It's got nothing to do with the power consumption. The harmonics of the grow, the frequency that grow light produces. No, they're incandescent, but the type of light that it produces, the filament, vibrates at a specific frequency, produces a radio frequency we pick up on our radios, and it's a obnoxious buzzing sound. Obnoxious. I did. Yeah. With one of these antennas, we can just, or get them to. Yeah. We'll go with that. I'm sitting at my house and I hear this buzzing. Yeah. I'm sitting at the house and I hear this horrible buzzing sound that wasn't there yesterday, and it's there the next day. The next day, it's like, okay, I'm done. Then I can get my antenna out and I can start going around my backyard, pointing in the direction. It's like, oh, it's that direction, and I keep walking. Now the signal goes away. Okay, it came from that, and I can kind of move around. Then I get a friend comes in from a different direction. We triangulate, and I can tell you what house it's on. Kind of fun. Yeah. Give me a break here. So, induced currents are on cables or wires of other devices. When we are transmitting our radio signals, we can actually interfere with hardwired signals. So you can have regular AM radio plugged into a house outlet for the neighbor. I can be transmitting on my radio station. The transmission lines pick up those radio signals, send it down the power line. It comes in on the radio, on the AM radio, and they hear my obnoxious voice on their nice song that they're listening to. They'll come over and they'll knock on your door and say, "Why do I hear your voice in my house?" I'm sorry, there's filters that you can put on your radio. We are responsible for anything we transmit. So if I'm interfering with my neighbor or anybody else, it's my responsibility to fix that interference. The FCC rules. We heard that overlapping. Well, yeah, right. So if your equipment is mismatched, you can get harmonics that come back, and you'll hear weird signals, you'll hear weird tones, all kinds of weird stuff on your radio. Some of it is your equipment's mismatched. You have loose connectors. You've got the wrong. Remember that the 75 ohm or 50 ohm wire. Which one's the one that we like with ham radio? 50 ohm. We like 50 ohm. So if you're using cheap crap wire, you could be creating your own. Okay. Radio interference. Very strong signals that cannot be rejected by same FM radio. May receive amateur radio transmissions unintentionally because the receiver is unable to reject strong signals outside the AM bands. What all that says in FCCEs makes it a little bit easier. I can produce that signal. My dad was using 600 watts to talk to Hawaii. The neighbor across the street could have their AM radio sitting out there, and he's hearing my dad's voice, not coming off the wires, but actually the signal so much because he's putting 600 watts out. He's filling the neighborhood with 600 watts of radio transmission stuff. Nobody knows it because it's invisible. But if you have, another radio on, then they hear his voice. Why do I hear his voice? And that's why. We have to be cognizant of that. Harmonics, again, we can get our signals that piggyback on other wires. Spurious emissions are undesired radio emissions not deliberately transmitted by a radio transmitter. If your equipment is out of specs, if you will, if it's out of tune, if something's broke in your radio, and you can hit transmit and it's sending out some erroneous signal, that's what we're talking about here. It needs to be serviced. And the only way that you know that is if somebody complains. Or my, those touch lamps at the house. Yeah, my mom, when my dad first got the radio before the one he has now, it was a 200-watt transmitter, and she's watching TV, and all of a sudden the light, because it's the three-way bulb, low, medium, high, low, medium, high, off, low, medium, high, off, and she's like, "What the?" And Dad's just talking away. And every time he hits transmit, the light comes on a different level. So she finally, and she's standing in the hallway watching him, watching you. So those are those spontaneous emissions that we don't want to do. They turn things on. They can open up garage doors. They can do all kinds of stuff.
He didn't believe her at first until she came over and showed him the TV also changed channels.
That
it would do that.
The light coming on was just one of the things, but when it changed
the light.
Yeah, he
She'd
didn't
be
like
watching
that.
Dr. Phil, and all of a sudden it's some Spanish channel. She's,
what the? Good question.
Good.
Yeah. To correlate to events out, yeah. Yep. Yeah, the old ones. So, sorry. Yep. Yeah. We were helping with a sound system at a church, and we're all sitting around enjoying the fruits of our labor. How we set all this equipment and everything, and what this voice coming out of the speakers that we set up, microphones are on the table, unplugged. And we're looking at the speakers, and we're looking at the microphones, and we're looking at each other and going, "It's the church, right?" Something okay. What we found was a ground loop. The system in that building was really old, and the ground was not. A signal was coming from a radio station, a commercial radio station, about 10 miles away, I think they were, and the building was an antenna, and it was picking that up, and yeah, it was coming through the system. So it was kind of cool. Radio you can have a lot of fun with. I get nuts trying to find that unshielded source. Will drag. Yeah. So your own signal can get routed back into your transmitter. The microphone resonating with your transmission frequency. Yourself, inadvertently interfering with the neighbors. And you're really testing about that. Be sensitive to your signal. Snap-on ferrite chokes. This is ferrite ore that's just formed in a round circle. They just happen to cut it in half so that you can snap it. So you would have one on this. You have your cable here and that ferrite choke, which is clamshell clamp over that, and that stops that radio frequency, because what it does, that radio, that RF will get on that outside shielding and run down the shielding. Well, this ferrite choke chokes that off. So the signal will come along, hits that choke, and it just stops. Just dissipates it. And then this would be to my microphone or to my radio or whatever, if you put that choke in a line like that. So that's what these are. You can pick these up for a couple bucks a piece. I always have 2 or 3 of those things in my go box, because you never know when you're going to pick up some rogue signaling. Slap that on the wire, it goes away, life's good. I've got those on. I do. But if I'm helping somebody out, or especially in my go box, because we're out in the field or something, and all of a sudden we're temporarily setting up some equipment, and we have some signal. I've got a couple of those that I have, and you can stack up too. You can put 2, 3, 5, whatever it takes to get the signal to stop. Low pass, high pass filters, band reject filters. So what Chris was talking about, you get these, especially when you plug this into your phone jack, and then you have this filter, and you plug your phone. You actually have a hardline phone at home and not using a cell phone. Starting to date ourselves here, but this is a filter. Basically, it's one of these filters inside. Already set up and everything, and then these are called high pass and low pass filters. Some of them are adjustable. This one's adjustable, so there's a little adjusted as your appearance. You adjust. They're pretty simple. I gotta look that up because I always say it wrong. Yeah, no, low pass lets low pass through. Yeah, high passes. Yeah. I think about it. To be real honest with you, other than on the, I don't mess with filter except for these things for the chokes. I keep signals every now and then. But as far as the high pass and low pass, base electronic, a whole lot of these anymore. So don't get too on them, but you need to know that they exist because those are testable questions. Oh yeah, I have those because you never know. I don't think it'll work. So interference by an amateur transmitter to a nearby telephone can be reduced by putting in an RF filter on the telephone line. Overload on TV or radio receiver. Oops, hit the wrong button. I felt that one. Maybe reduced with an antenna filter. Again, with the over-air television gone digital now, we're having even less of an issue with amateur radio interfering that. But it is a testable question, so know that there are filters for TV. Okay, so harmonic emissions can be reduced with a filter between the transmitter and antenna. So the radio and the antenna is where your filter go to get these. There we go. Most modern transceivers include harmonic filtering in the standard feature. A lot of them, which is a push button function, and you can filter out stuff. The radio that I had in the truck, some of that static noise that you hear, I can filter some of that out. The problem with that is because I do a lot of searching, I forget to turn my filter off. Tonight, when I turn on the radio, put the antenna in, because last week I was showing you the squelch on the radio. I forgot to zero out the squelch. Put the antenna on, I set it all up, turned it on. It was nothing. That radio was quiet. Hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I'm breaking out in cold sweats. That's a $1,400 radio that's not working no more. I'm not a happy camper.
He looked at me like he just lost his firstborn child completely.
Turned the squelch out of the way, got all the static. So remember, I don't use the filters because I forget to turn them off and I freak out. So it's one of those things. You get to use your radio the way you want to use your radio. And I know a lot of guys who use filters and they love them. It clears off the static sound. They don't have to listen to all that static sound. That's fine. It's whatever you do. I'm afraid I'm going to miss a really low signal, so I don't use the filters. It's my choice. But the radio has that. It's built in. Okay, so if your neighbors tells you your station is transmitting and interfering in the radio or TV reception, make sure that your station is functioning properly and it does not cause for interference to your own radio or television when tuned to the same channel. So you can test it this way. Again, if you're causing the interference, you got to come up with a solution. You can't just say, suck it up, buttercup. It's responsible for your transmissions. First steps in resolving cable TV interference. from ham radio transmissions might be to ensure that all TV coaxial connectors are installed properly. Just to do weird things, and you get weird signals up. You even on with a loose connector on somebody's television, just up. I know that.
And it's your responsibility to help that person tighten up that connector.
Yeah.
You're the one causing interference to that.
Yeah. So, part 15. When we say part 15, this is FCC lingo of the rules. We're part 97, covered radio. Part 15, licensed device is like your router for your computer. That's an unlicensed transmitter. Because it's very and restricted for what it transmits to. Sometimes it doesn't even go across the house. Depends on the router. That's why it falls under this unlicensed and unregulated. Quick amateur radio frequencies. We can produce. Will interfere with these things. Makes the remote control car do funky things. That's always fun. Baby monitors. And they can hear. Why is there a man's voice in my baby's room? It's coming across the baby monitor.
Garage doors opening randomly throughout the neighborhood. Yeah. Your fan and light that you have that remote to, your fan will magically come on without you touching a button.
Or the light.
Or the light.
Yeah. So, work with your neighbors. We're responsible for our signals. Radio detection, finding the method used to locate sources of noise. We call it a fox hunt. And we talked about this a couple times here. Grounding, especially with the mobile station, a solid ground to your electrically well-bonded vehicle chassis and body can help to reduce noise and signal loss. Remember the old AM radios? Every time you accelerate, you hear this whee as you're driving down the road, and then you left on the accelerator, and that's the alternator on the engine. If you ground the radio to the chassis of the car, that whining sound goes away. The alternator is going out, but that's where that's coming from. I actually had that with my truck. Could hear the sound in my radio, and sure enough, about a week later, my alternator went out in my truck. So little things like that, we need to know what you're doing. Home, if you're setting up a home radio, make sure that the outside chassis of the radio is grounded. Just because you have a three-pronged plug that plugs into the outlet doesn't necessarily ground the chassis of the radio. There is the ground port that's on the back of those radios. Put a wire on that, follow the manufacturer's instructions on how to ground the radio. You'll really like that because it prevents interference and it makes your radio a little bit safer too. So, yeah. Yes, it's an electrical term for grounding. The wire, that side is your negative, if you will, on a battery. Positive is your power side, negative is your ground side. So in a house,
the easiest way to explain it for your house, when you plug in those three-pronged plugs, you've got the wide one, the short one, and that little round one.
No, I'll do it this way.
Not only is the short one, the thinner one, a negative, but that third prong on the bottom is a secondary ground that those equipments use. So when you plug in your laptop computer and it has those three prongs that go in there, that extra prong on there is also your ground. When you're using radios, it's not a good common practice to attach the ground to that third prong. It can get you by in a pinch, but it's better to actually run a different wire to a specific pole. If you have a rod that goes outside to the ground and you have the wire go through your window into that rod, that's the proper way of grounding the radio like that. But if you're in an apartment on the fourth floor, it's kind of hard to tell your landlord to say, I'm going to run a wire down three flights of stairs out the back door and into the ground. Can't quite do it. So in a pinch, you can use that third round prong. Okay. Yeah, those themselves are wired to a pole in the ground somewhere around your house. Sometimes you may see it like near a faucet. But when you go outside and you see a faucet, there may be a little brass thing in the ground, copper in the ground. That's where almost all of those are going to go to, is that rod. Yes, it goes deep down.
So what I was trying to show you on the house.
Yep.
Yeah. If you look at your house, you find that box on the side of the house that has an electrical meter on it. On the ground, somewhere within 3 or 4 feet of where that box is, you'll see that little rod. So it's a copper rod that sticks out of the ground with a wire attached to it. It's anywhere from 8 to 10 feet, depending on your soil type and contractor. And when it was put in, this ground rod is in the ground. This is a safety ground. So in your house, you have 2 power leads that come in, one what we call a neutral, and then your safety ground is created here. So you have 2 powers. This is what gives you, there's 110 volts on one leg, 110 volts on one leg. 2 of them put together is 220 volts. That's what your dryer runs on, and your range runs on is both of those. Your lights runs on one, it's 110 volts. That's why we call it 110 volt or 220 volt in your house. That ground plug on your house plug, that's your ground. Your short one is your power. This is your 110 volts, and your long one, this is your neutral. So if you touch those 2, if you touch the short one in the ground, it's bad. If you just touch one of those things, doesn't do anything to you. Doesn't do anything to you? Yeah. So that's electrical 101 nutshell. So you have your radio over here. You want to get a ground wire, and you want, like what Chris was saying, you want to run that ground wire out to that ground rod that's outside your house. Somehow or another, you want to connect it however you can in your house. You want to connect that up. It's an extra safety. It's also really good in case you have this nice little antenna up here and we have an electrical storm. We have what we call static lightning. You don't ever see that lightning, but it builds up an electrical charge here. And that electrical charge goes down that coax into your radio, and now you have a really expensive paperweight and lots of alligator tears. If you ground the chassis of your radio, that static charge will hit that ground wire and go outside back into the ground wire. Theoretically. Not always 100%, but that's very binary. Negatively charged. Well, the path of least resistance. The ground is a negative charge. Your air is usually a positive charge. Positive runs to the negative, so it would fall all the way down here into your negative. And that's what lightning is doing. It gets a whole bunch of, it finds a whole bunch of negatives and makes a connection through the air to lightning. By the direct
path of least resistance.
Yep.
Usually it's the tallest object, and sometimes your antenna might be the tallest object.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. There are no silly questions in this course.
In the wall, whether this is the dilemma electricians have talked about for years. Should it be this way, or should it be this way? Is that your question? Yeah. Makes no difference the way it works. Back in the day when these, because we used to have, it was just that. Okay. When these came out, I was actually an electrician when these hit the market. So I know the story behind this. The story behind this is we wanted to have these where the ground was on the top. So if something metal would fall down on your plug, it would hit the ground and fall off. And it wouldn't hit across the positive and the negative and short out and cause a fire. That was the theory. Fast forward in today, whoever puts it in, which way it goes, difference, because that was a black. No, it all depends on the electrician on how they put it in the wall. Well, it's not the device. Yeah. 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 No, because they only have 2 prongs. Yes, well, the reason behind it, that has nothing to do with the way the outlet is. That has everything to do with a component inside that little device. What is this? Diode. Okay, so you're putting a plug that only has 2 prongs into this outlet. One of these sides, we'll say at this side here, has a diode in it. So if this is the positive and this is the negative, I'm plugging this in. This is on the diode is on the positive side. I plug it in this way, it's going to work. If I plug it in to where, right, this is the positive and this is the negative. Now my diode says, get the polarity wrong. It stops the wrong polarity of power to go into your device and blowing up your device or burning it up. That's a safety thing. That's why you got to turn it around to plug it in. Make sense? I just solved a mystery in your life. Yeah, you were talking about an electrical problem. I was going to turn it upside down. Yeah, there isn't a right side and upside down. Okay, way off the path, but you want it now. Here's a practical. And a practical application of what a diode does. So that will help in your test and your endeavors.
Next time you go plug something, be like, stupid diode.
And everybody's going to be looking at it going, okay. So flat strap conductor is best for RF grounding, such as this tin braided copper strap. You want to have fun. You go for ham. We have these things once a month, and you get a bunch of old guys like me who are sitting around, we're eating our breakfast. We're all cool because we have our little hat on with our call sign on. I've been handmade operator for 34 or 5 years. Blah, 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 blah. You want to have a lot of fun as a new ham? You can say it's between an electrical ground, and a radio ground, and watch the feeding frenzy. Everybody has a different opinion of this. You don't need to have the flat wire, round wire will work. You got it. It's for testing purposes. For testing purposes, you know that the flat strap conductor, wire, this is braided conductor, braided wire, is best for frequency ground. Okay, so that radio chassis that I was talking about here, and I want to ground this to a ground wire. They don't want you using a round wire. They recommend a flat wire. Why would I have more surface here for radio frequency to ride down the. Doesn't dissipate the heat. It's less resistive because it's a flat surface. It's white, and I can send down that flat surface. Okay, so if you see a flat conductor, it's usually for an RF. If you see a round conductor, it's usually for electrical, depending on who put it in. Okay, there's mud. Some of these things are an absolute scream at ham breakfasts. I just throw things out like that and watch them go. Round wire. Would not be a problem with it, no, because it's a safety ground. Yeah, it still conducts electricity. It still does that. It's just more common for testing purposes. The flat strap is for RF. Okay. I'm just gonna love hearing some stories from you guys sometime down in the future. And you go, I went to breakfast and I threw that out. Oh my God, people went nuts. So RF base station uses standard single pole grounding arrangement to eliminate ground loops, associated noise, and loops is when you have an open ground, or it's not a continuous ground, and that's what we had at that church. So our ground wire turned into a big freaking antenna, and that's how we heard that radio station. We probably go off, then we don't have that problem. In your station, this is where I think I'm sure, yeah. In your radio station, you have your transceiver, your radio, power supply, an antenna tuner. Remember that? An antenna switch. An antenna switch just lets you go from one antenna to another antenna. Like at my house, I have two different antennas, and from a switch, I can switch from antenna A to antenna B. It's an antenna switch, and any other components. This is the ground. So this is a copper pipe that I don't really have this. I have a copper pipe on the wall underneath my desk where all my radio equipment is, and then I wrap wire. This stuff, strap, and I take it from my transceiver down to that copper pipe. Down. No, I attach it to my radio, and I attach it to the copper pipe. Then my power supply, which is right next to my radio, I run another flat strap from that power copper pipe. What you don't want to do is what we call daisy chaining. You take that flat strap and you go from your radio to your power supply to your antenna tuner to your antenna switch to your component. Well, what happens is if I get a static discharge onto my radio, now that instead of it going down here to the copper pipe, running out to the ground rod, it goes to all my components, fries everything on the table. Yeah. Yep. So, audio, an inch to 4 inches. Depends on what you want to do with it. Most commonly, actually half inches. No, half inch. Most common is a half to an inch. I've got a spool of 1 inch stuff. Your checkbook. In commercial stuff, they would use bigger stuff because their power is higher. They're in 1,000 watts and stuff like that. Because we're only using 100 watts, 200 watts, max is 1,500 watts. 1 inch is more than adequate for that. So this is outside your house. You can see this is a stucco here. So this is outside your house, and this is flat strap copper that goes to the ground rod. Okay, so this is coming out of the house, goes to this plate, goes down to the ground rod. My coax from my antenna comes down and is attached onto this big copper plate. This is for lightning protection. All this is for lightning protection. And then your power surge is also attached to that. So, interference from my mobile radio, my car, alternator wind, I already talked about that. Varies in speed. Noise blanker, there's a filter inside your radio that you can turn on. It's called a noise blanker. It'll blank out your ignition sounds or get your alternator fixed. Alternators being transmitted when you speech. People tell you, I hear a really high-pitched sound every time you transmit. Turn the engine off and just have the battery on and then transmit. And so, yeah, the wine's gone. It's your alternator. Yeah. Or if it's cracked. Okay. When you install a mobile radio in your car, you want the negative side of your radio to go all the way to the battery. The chassis do that because you'll get interference. It'll interfere with your radio. So your positive and your negative from your radio need to go through your car all the way to your battery. You will like life a lot better. A lot better use out of it. I turn off the radio. There's an on-off switch on the radio. Right.
Well, or what you could
Because like what we had tonight when I was out at the truck, my radios go straight to the battery. Turn it, the engine wasn't on, the ignition wasn't on, keys were up in the dash. Turn on.
remember when
Don't
we were
forget it because it'll kill your battery.
remember when we were talking about relays a couple of weeks ago? What I did is I hooked my negative to the battery, positive to the battery, and I put a relay on my positive wire. That relay gets triggered by the actual ignition switch. When you turn your car on, you know how we hear that click, click, click all through all your relays in your car, getting ready to turn on your car? My relay is in the same line as everyone else. So my power goes to the battery directly, but there is a single relay switch that will only let power come through if my ignition is actually on.
Why'd you put that extra relay in your car?
Because I kill my battery, because I leave my car on, or my radio on, and I forget.
I just turn the radio off. No, the wires aren't heavy enough gauge to handle the power because it's usually it's a number 14 wire that comes out of the radio, and in those fuse boxes, the heaviest is around a 16 gauge, which is about 10 amps less, 16, 18 smaller. But yeah, it's about 10 amps smaller, so don't get the fuse straight to the battery. Yep. And the manufacturer's directions in when you buy your mobile radio, will tell you go straight to the battery. Don't go through the fuse boxes. Okay, single sideband. I think we've talked about this. QRM. What's QRM stand for? Interference. It can be reduced using variable receive bandwidth filters. Again, that was that filter that you can adjust. We can adjust the filter if you're getting other frequency interferences. Oops. Selectivity, the ability to receive, to discriminate between multiple signals. Your filter will take out certain, if you have an undesirable noise or undesirable transmission that you want to filter out, using a meter, a special meter, you can measure what frequency that is. Then you can get a filter for that frequency, put that in line, and you won't hear that noise anymore. Does that make sense? Yeah, but if it's interference, you don't want it anyway. Because remember how I was when we turned the radio on, I heard that just ungodly sound, and then as I tuned the frequency, I could actually turn into a human voice. You can be off frequency enough where you're getting some ungodly sound. You can filter that out and hear the signals that you want. Signals that you don't want, you can filter out. Okay. CW mode is approximate receive filter, select minimize interference in 500 hertz. All right, a lot of science and stuff. I understand that there's filters that you get, frequencies that filter out undesirable noises. Who's responsible for interference? Whoever the cause of the interference is. Now, by law, whoever causes the interference has to stop it. So when you go to your local marijuana grower and say, turn that shit off because it's screwing up my radio, get duck because they usually come to the door with a gun. They ain't gonna listen because they've got an illegal grow. That's why we call our guys badges. Say, you're gonna turn that thing on. We, as licensed amateurs, will police ourselves. We make sure that our signals are off. Just because the neighbor who has something weird, old table saws, the old Steers tables, turn that thing on, on your radio, you're like, what the heck? And they turn off the saw. Yeah, you can tell them, hey, your saw is interfering with my radio. If they're nice neighbors, they can fix that. You put filters on their saw so it doesn't do that anymore. I had a neighbor a long time ago who told me where I could stick my Quest. Not possible. Old. Just old. Yeah. Yeah. Just old. All right, Chris, what's the next one? Or is that yours? Will's? Oh, goody.
Okay. So we're with electrical safety, antenna and tower safety, and RF exposure safety. We find out what's so dangerous about electricity. How can I protect against electrical hazards? What are some stupid things to do with batteries? Why is electricity so dangerous? As Lauren said earlier in the day, electricity can kill you, but it's all based on the amps. It's all based on how much oomph is behind the motion electrons. So typical household is 120. We refer to it as 110, and it's more than enough to be deadly. The whole point behind how deadly or how dangerous it is the amps, which is the current flow. Current flow through the body causes health hazards by it heats tissue, disrupts electrical functions of the cells, such as the nervous system, and loss of consciousness, and involuntary muscle contractions, which is the concept behind tasers and stun guns. Power supplies, even when turned off and disconnected, may still present the hazard from stored charge in large capacitors. It's like a television versus a microwave. Television, you can unplug it, take all the unplug the components, and over a period of time, all that residual charge will dissipate. In a microwave, that magnetometer or magnetron keeps that power forever, unless you dissipate it by discharging it. So, how can I protect against electrical hazards? You guard against electrical shock at your station by using 3-wire cords and plugs for all AC equipment, which is what we described over here with our drawings. Connect all AC equipment to a common safety ground, and use GFI. We know what GFI stands for, ground fault interrupter outlets, and that's the ones that have the little reset buttons. Use fuses or circuit breakers in series with hot conductor wire on AC equipment powered by 820 volts AC. The green wire in a 3-wire plug is your safety ground. That's the round one that we showed up here on the diagram, or this one here. That's your safety ground. You'll actually see a lot of people, if they have the old style extension cords that just have the 2 holes, they'll clip that safety ground off. It still will work, but it poses a hazard to their equipment and to themselves from electrical shock. They can actually fry your equipment if they get a power surge or a lightning strike. Sure. I'm going. Yes. Well, the fuse, and this is just sort of that for purposes of what they're showing here, but a fuse is going to be rated for whatever your wire and your appliance is needed. It'll be, yeah. This one here, that's neutral. Yes. All your load, all of your power is going back and forth right here. Look on the actual power side. And the reason why you don't have, yeah, way deep. And but also this fuse would be rated for whatever it is you're trying to do. So you wouldn't need more than one. If it's a 15 amp fuse, then basically what they're saying is anything over 15 amps, they'll strip that fuse and it won't harm your appliance. Correct. So it doesn't melt the wire before it trips the fuse. Right. We get it? Okay. How can I protect against electrical hazards? Fuses they interrupt the power in case of overload. So they used to, and a lot of the appliances still have the glass, the round tubes. Most of your automotive fuses are the bus fuses that have 2 prongs on them, and they will specifically say what they're rated at. This is a 25 at 25. and you always want to use what it requires in the operator's manual. Those fuses have a small piece of metal inside, and it will melt and break, so that with any power surge. So that way it saves your wires and it saves your appliance. Correct. Do not install a higher ampere rated fuse than the circuit calls for, or excessive current could cause a fire. Because what will happen is if this is rated at 25, you put a 50 amp in there, it's going to take 50 amps to break that fuse. But it won't take 50 amps to melt the wire or your equipment. So basically, if you try to go higher than what's rated, you can cause serious damage or harm yourself. The mobile station is a good practice to install fuses on both sides of the power cable, the positive and the return, and also to install fuses close to the battery connection. Yes, anytime you hear a battery, it's direct current, DC. Go one direction. Negative and positive. It goes on both. And the one on the negative is kind of like a safety. It's just to protect it that much more. Correct, because that's where all your load is. What are some things to do with batteries? Fail to ventilate. An explosive gas may be discharged or collect near a conventional 12-volt battery if not stored properly or vented. I'm sorry. So you have to have a way for the gases that are built up, especially when they're being used. They off gas. So you want to make sure you have that it's properly ventilated to allow the off gas in. Charge or discharge too quickly. A lead acid storage battery can overheat and give off flammable gas or explode if it is charged or discharged too quickly. Basically, it just goes back to the whole fail to ventilate. If you charge it or discharge it too quickly, it can't keep up with that and it's going to explode. You don't want to have, right. Well, but that piece of gas.
Radio's out in my truck, 12-volt DC power battery. I want to run that in my house. I need an emergency power supply. I can put the battery out of my car. Have that in the house. Connect my radio to that, and I can run that. Well, if I don't like to look at that battery, I shut it in a confined space. And I'm using that battery. The gases that a lead acid battery produces will accumulate. So if you get some type of ignition, that'll happen. Or if you're charging the battery, it produces gases out in the car because of it's out in the engine compartment. There's plenty of ventilation. But when we bring them in the house, that's where they happen. Solar panels. Guys that are putting solar panels up, they put battery sources in there, where they put those battery banks. They also install ventilation. So there's a little fan that pushes air in and sucks the air out of those spaces where the batteries are. These ventilations don't have that problem. Does that make sense?
And with the overheating, or I'm sorry, with the charging and discharging too fast, when you're charging these batteries, you're creating a lot of heat. If you charge it too fast, it will just explode. Because again, it goes back to the lead acid gas. It'll set that gas on fire and it will explode. Short the terminals. Shorting the terminal 12-volt battery, short the battery can cause fire, burns, and explosion. It's just like when you hook your cables on and you take the other ends and you put them together and get those sparks. That's shorting the battery. That's shorting the terminals. So basically, you're going from the positive to the negative on the battery, and that can cause an explosion. Yeah, and a fire. In fact, it's a great way to start fires if you're ever in a survival situation. And that's it. Safety. Antenna and tower safety. What good safety practices for antennas and towers? How can I reduce lightning strike effects on my tower? Wear a hard hat. This is working for towers and tower antennas. Wear a hard hat, safety glasses anytime you're working with a tower. You gotta love Stu. Gotta love Stu. Before climbing a tower, put on a climbing harness in addition to other gear. Most climbing harnesses now have those fall arresters built into them, and you can get those, and it prevents you from, if you do fall off the tower, you won't plummet to your death. It is never safe to climb a tower without help from an independent observer. Never climb a crank-up tower unless it is in the fully extracted position. Or, I'm sorry, retracted position. So these towers, they lay down, you stand them up, you extend them. You never want to climb these towers unless they're completely down in the retracted position. All right. Overhead electrical wires. Look for and stay clear of overhead electrical wires. That's kind of self-explanatory. You don't want to be part of the circuit. Minimum safe distance. Install any antenna so that if it falls, no part will be within 10 feet of the wire. So if I've got a 30-foot aerial, I lay it down as if it were to fall, I want 10 more feet, so I need 40 feet away from the power lines. Minimum safe distance. Utility poles. Attach no antenna to a utility pole as it can contact high voltage power lines. So, yes. And they still do that. Yes. Yes, yes. Gin poles. Use a gin pole to help lift tower sections and antennas, reducing the possibility of strain or injury. So this is a gin pole, and basically what they're doing is they've got it kind of captured in this little cavity, and are using it to push it up so that they're not putting themselves in that much jeopardy. How can I reduce lightning strike effects on my tower? Proper grounding helps to shunt lightning surge energy into the earth. And this goes back to the whole antenna grounding and all that stuff we've gone over before. Grounding towers or grounding 4 towers. Separate 8-foot ground rods for each tower leg. Bond the rods to the tower and to each other. Ground the wire, or the ground wires should be short and direct, and avoid sharp bends in ground wire straps. Local electrical codes establish requirements for grounding amateur radio towers. So here's the tower, and then you have each leg has its own ground. And then there's additional radial array, and then you have that strap goes directly into the ground. And like Lauren was saying, you don't want to daisy chain it. You don't want to just come straight off of here and go straight into the ground. You have to have a ground going. It has to come into the ground on each one. Does that make sense? Bad things. Lightning does extremely bad things to radios.
You want to keep it loose.
Right.
Yeah. If you have a 90-degree turn, the lightning will keep going straight from your 90-degree turn. And yes.
You'll see an arc.
Yep. And you
a pretty one, but a dangerous one.
If it's connected to your radio as your next point, it'll then jump over your radio. It defeats the purpose of all of this. So, but as you can see, it's kind of looped around. When you loop it, just almost like you're throwing seeds or whatever out. You're just looping it out, so it's a natural loop. If lightning does hit it, it will dissipate a lot easier than that 90-degree turn where it just arcs over to the next thing. And you don't want that.
Yeah, lightning and ham radios are not good friends. So, the entry panel and lighting protectors. For lightning surge protection of the check, a conductive entry panel or plate should be externally grounded to earth rods, and coaxial cables should be mounted and grounded to the entry panel. So what they have here is they've attached a plate to the outside wall of their home. It's copper. They've got it well mounted. They've got straps coming into the ground, also made out of copper, and then they have their coax cable coming out. So that way, any lightning strike, any of those surges is going to go straight into that copper plate and straight into the ground. This will avoid your equipment. This is inside the house, the same one, but it's inside. You have your lightning protectors actually attached to the end of your coax, and again, it's just the interior side of it. All coaxial cable feed lightning protectors should be grounded to the common plate, which is in turn connected to the external ground. Again, this is connected directly to the copper plate, or the copper box, and then that goes straight to the ground outside. Are we grasping it so far? Absolutely. Tell me when to stop. Okay.
I have a connector at the house. When I know, I watch the weather like a hawk. When I know there's a lightning storm coming, I disconnect. I disconnect outside. So I disconnect the coax, my connector to the house, lay that coax outside. Lightning comes in off my antenna, off that coax, the lightning stays outside my house. This is a great setup, especially when you're at the grocery store and you get that front range thunderstorm that just comes in, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't disconnect my antennas, and that will protect you. Is it 100%? No, not 100%. Will it disconnect discharge from finding your radios? Yes. Will it keep a direct strike from going into your house? No. Depends on working stuff, but it's better than just going straight. So I always tell people, I get questions like this all the time. What do you do for lightning? I disconnect. Thunderstorms here last like no time at all. They're here and they're gone. I don't need to be on the radio during that. So I just disconnect, roll the cables on the ground, go and watch TV, and I'll wait till the storm goes away, like a couple hours after the storm goes away, so I make sure that the lightning is far enough away where I don't have to worry about it, same type of static discharge. And if I want to get on the air, I get on the air. Or I just use my handheld, because all I want to do is talk local. For my HF stuff, the stuff like what we're doing tonight, for that cross-country talking on the international stuff, I don't need to be doing that during a thunderstorm. So I just disconnect. That's the same thing. Very simple. And that's very loosely. Yeah. Your whole house is on the electric wires, not on the coax coming in. But yeah, it's basically static light, not the whole house protected. Will not do it. Nothing.
So now when you've got something that's 10 times hotter than the surface of the sun coming through. Oh yeah. Now, one of the things that I do, I don't have the lightning protectors in mine, but I do have panels in my window that I have for the disconnect, like what he does. I don't use my HF nearly as much as he does, so I'm the opposite. 90% of the time, I'm always disconnected. It's only that one time or two times I'm ready to go to the radio, I'll actually go out and reconnect. When I'm done, I just disconnect and away I go. My 2 meter is the same way, and the way I have it, I lay my coax on the ground near where it's supposed to connect, but away the water won't get into my coax. And that way, if lightning does hit it, it goes through that wire, it's already on the ground. And again, outside of the house, the coax connectors that you can go put on these things, you can get them a lot of easy places to get those. Radio Shack used to have them when they were around here. But the lightning protectors, they run about $300 a piece. They're great for that exact same thing. I'm at the grocery store, I forgot. But if you're like me, I'm always disconnected unless I'm going to use it, and it helps out for that.
So Lauren, he unhooks out here, and he moves it. But you want to make sure that you move it far enough away that it's still not going to arc. Because you got to figure a lightning bolt is 1 million amps, so it's got some power behind it. So you don't want to just drop it straight down. You want to pull it back a ways so that it has to jump a long distance before it gets there. You want to kick it across the other side of the car, but you just want to give some distance so that it has to work hard to get there.
There's another subject at the hand breakfast that you want to watch the feeding frenzy. Hey, tell me how to do lightning protection. Oh my God. Everybody has their own opinion. Everyone has their own. Yeah, so we're teaching by the book. Right? And this is the way that they're teaching it. But there's all kinds of theories out there and stuff. Some of them are just entertaining to listen to. So.
And some of them are so crazy, you look at them going, and you do this?
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Okay, radio mixture series. and HF. Non-ionizing obviously is like your ionizing is your radiation, like radioactive materials, plutonium, uranium. Those are ionizing. So radio frequency is non-ionizing. It does not create ions or charged particles by displacing electrons from atoms, such as X-rays, UV light, and gamma rays. Non-ionizing RF radiation does not have sufficient energy to cause genetic damage. So putting your radio next to your ear or dropping the radio into your legs, or if you're driving, or if you're going to fall, whatever, it's not going to cause any genetic damage. RF emissions still are harmful if proper precautions are not taken. Actually, there was a long period of time, and it didn't end until just about a decade ago, where a lot of police officers were they were attributing the radar to testicular cancer. Because a lot of police officers, when they catch a person speeding, they set the radar up in their legs, and they were saying that the radiation from the radar was causing them testicular cancer. Radio emissions seriously injure me. RF emissions heat the body tissues due to the absorption of radiation, just like food in a microwave oven, only not so intense. Human eyes and male testes are particularly susceptible due to the relatively poor ability to reject heat. That's why they used to say, don't look at a microwave while it's turning and while it's working. That's why they had those little perforated shields. Because if you look at it, radiation can get escaping through the glass window. All right, Burns. Yes.
Like I said before, that first day, everyone has that deer in the headlights looks. Every day after that, you always get the light bulb moments as the class goes on, and it may not even be radio related.
Always Burns may happen to a person actually touches your antenna while you're transmitting. It's a no-no. We don't touch antennas while we're transmitting. Bad juju. Yeah, you only do it once. Yes.
Let's do sound effects.
When an antenna transmitting a high power level is touched, the RF energy is typically routed through the contact surface of the touch. A fingertip touch will receive a higher density of energy and a more severe burn than a palm grip. And they're very deep, and they hurt like you have no idea.
Now, let me tell you this too. You don't have to physically be in contact with the antenna for this to happen. If you are close enough, like if your hand's near it, and if there's enough wattage coming off the antenna, you can still get a radiation type burn from just from the RF that's just near the antenna is just enough to do that. So the rule of thumb is just don't be anywhere near your antennas when you're transmitting, or anybody else for that matter. Unless you don't really like them.
Even if you're responsible for those radio waves, you created the problem. Frequency and power level of RF field. The human body absorbs more radio frequency energy at some frequencies than others. The lowest max permissible exposure is for VHF 30 to 300 megahertz. Includes 6 meter, 50 megahertz, and 2 meter, 144 megahertz. So the rule of basically what it boils down to is we don't stand near antennas, we don't touch them when we broadcast. Distance from antenna to person. Relocating antennas is one of the most common actions to prevent exposures in excess of FCC limits. Radiation pattern of antenna gain may be considered engaging RF exposure. And the percentage of time a transmitter is transmitting affects the average exposure to radiation. The longer you're transmitting, obviously, the more it's going to get burned. Duty cycle example, averaging time of duty cycle. The average time is the standard duration during which typical exposure conditions for a station are measured. 6-minute or 30-minute standard periods. So this is going to kind of show you how that works. In a 6-minute average time, 2 times as much power density is permitted if the signal is present for 3 minutes and absent for 3 minutes, rather than being transmitted for the entire 6 minutes. Make sense? Okay, so any better? Complicated. So the way I grasp it is, if I'm going to transmit for 6 straight minutes, the amount of power that I'm putting out is kind of spread over 6 minutes. But if I broadcast and then get off, I've got a real big surge and then it stops. So it's going to cause more burn. Does that make sense?
Well,
the
FCC
might see it.
The FCC limits how much exposure to radio frequency we're allowed for safety. And the duty cycle, what they're talking about here, is the average time, is a standard duration during which the typical exposure conditions for a station are measured. So in a 6-minute or 30-minute standard period. In that, I gotta remember this one. In the FCC rules, it talks about when you're measuring how duty cycle is when I'm actually transmitting. So we're out in the truck, we were there for 10 minutes. But the amount of time I was transmitting was only a minute, maybe it was, and I transmitted like 3 times. But the transmission was like 15, 20 seconds. So how much total transmission do you have at your duty cycle? Depending on the strength of your transmissions and your shielding, is how much RF exposure you're having. Because my roof is all metal and it's the ground plane for that antenna, the amount of signal that comes through my roof is very small because that ground plane is a reflector. And so I'm reflecting that signal off of my roof, and it's metal. The signal don't penetrate through that. If you were to take that antenna and stick it in the cab with me with the radio, I'm getting all of that RF. And the FCC measures this and saying how much are you allowed to be next to before it becomes harmful. That's what they're trying to get at here. I encourage you, this will be the only time you ever see this stuff is on testing. Just memorize it. That's what I did to get through it. To explain the theory, I need somebody a lot smarter than me behind it. But basically, what I just explained to you is what they were trying to do. FCC says you're only exposed to certain amounts of RF frequencies, RF exposure. There's ways of measuring this. The duty cycle is how much it is transmitted. Receiving, there's no measuring of that. It's how much are you transmitting? That's what we're that's because you're closest to the source. Yeah. By only receiving, our bodies are receiving radio frequencies right now. It's just we're sitting here. We're exposed to that. It's normal radiation that we're getting. But when I transmit, I'm by the source. So where is that antenna in correlation to people? That's what the FCC wants to know. They want to make sure that we're not creating damage to people.
And I only had one question on my test that I can remember that was related to this, and this was it verbatim. If I'm transmitting for 6 minutes, am I getting more on 3 on, 3 off for 6 straight minutes? That was the only question I had. Right.
Yeah. This is one of those,
Right.
This is one of those, it's a common sense question. So common sense will answer this one for you.
Right.
Yes.
I only had one. It was this question.
2-0. On there, 3 questions out of the entire safety section. So there's here they may. It's again, it takes that whole safety deal. There's 30 questions in the safety, so only 3 of them get picked. You might not get a duty cycle question on that test, or you might get all 3.
Yeah. Your station is in compliance with FCC limits as defined in FCC OET Bulletin 65 by any of these 3 methods. Calculation based on the bulletin, calculation based on computer modeling, and by measurement of field strength using calibration equipment. Right. Take action if warranted by adjusting your transmissions in any of these ways. You can use frequencies outside of the VHF range. If that happens, then you reduce your average transmitter power. If you have if you can increase the distance of people from the antenna, have them stand away from your antenna. That's it. Increase the distance of the antenna from the people, raise it up higher, and move it farther out into the field. And that sells the directional or redirect antennas away from people. Max power you may use at VHF frequencies before RF exposure evaluation is required is 50 watts DEP at the antenna. So 50 watts RF exposure, we have to start getting into how much damage are we causing, how much risk are we putting people in. Make sure your station stays in compliance by reevaluating when equipment is changed. So obviously, whenever we add more watts, bigger power supply, we're going to want to check and make sure what kind of a risk we just increased it to.
Like what you were just saying with the handheld radio, that only puts out 5 watts at most. We're nowhere near the 50 watt to be able to have to say, well, this needs to be checked. If you're at 20 watts normally in your car, it doesn't have to be checked on a regular basis. That 50 watt is the key point to it. That's where they've made their magic number and said anything under this does not affect the human body to the point where it'll cause harm.
Yeah, the 50 watts is the line in the sand, so to speak. Okay, FCC limits for maximum permissible exposure, plane wave equivalent power density. So the dark line is your controlled exposure, and your dashed line is your general population or the uncontrolled exposure. And then this is based on your frequency, it's based on megahertz. And this is just all erroneous information. It's not going to be on the test. And that's the formula that's even in the book. Yeah, that's not in the book. Right, how they calculate it. And again, we don't need to know that for testing purposes.
Hey, look at that!
Any questions on the safety at all? Right.
Microphone.
The surge protector is a big resistor.
How's that?
To answer your question, both. They do serve a function, but they're not going to stop it. They're more designed that static. That's really what they're doing. And for a fluctuation in power, exactly. It just stops. It stops peak power. Set it specific. It just sits there and hums away. Yeah.
There's a little bit over here. Okay.
Electricity 60 megahertz. Or 60 hertz.
You can erase that one too.
Electricity at 60 hertz. It's spike or surge. Yeah. The resistor's there to cut that off. Yeah, materials. Yeah. Just like any other system. It's what mineral, well, it depends on what it's made from, because there's so many different components that you can use to make a resistor. But basically, that's what it is. It's a resistor. It's to stop a surge of power to go through there. That's why they call it a surge protector. We did not read it.
How much they protect your equipment with for?
Joules. They're measured in joules. So it will say on the packaging how many hundreds or thousands of joules it's protected from. And again, it depends on your checkbook. Get what you pay for. A surge protector.
That's fine.
Surge protector. And it's great insurance. It's great insurance. As an electrician, I installed whole house surge protectors. I encourage the device specific surge protectors. Today, in electrical terminology, our grid system is more stable than it was 50 years ago. So we get less spikes in our power. Now I say that, and I go out to my house in Simla, that I have a voltmeter permanently installed on my electrical panel because I have a generator attached up over here. I can start the generator, flip the switch, and my furnace is on generator power. But I have a voltmeter that's on my panel. Depending on the day, I can walk by that voltmeter, and some days it's 115 volts, some days it's 125 volts, some days it's 120 volts. It's all over the map. Well, I'm also way out in the rural community. Here in Colorado Springs, my dad's house, we ran a test, and it was 118 volts, like all the time. Right, and that's part of it too. But because 90%, I should say 90%, a large proportion of our secondary power distribution system is underground now. The big primaries are above ground. We can see those, but almost all of our secondary distribution system is underground. We don't get the lightning hits on the power lines, and that's really where the surge protection stuff came from. You get a lightning hit 50 miles away on the power system, it runs across the county and finds your little house and your little TV and blows it up. And that's what surge protection should look for. Yep, they're very sensitive. Yep, they're very sensitive. Surge protectors, I highly recommend those things.
Hey, I got a microphone. All right. I have too many remotes, too many things to keep track of here. Day 4 wrap up. The question I always ask, how's it going? How you doing? Have you overloaded your brain yet? Guess what? You finished a book. Give yourselves a good round of applause for that, guys. I know. Now comes the fun part. This is the part I really enjoy. We've been telling you guys to be able to use those section quizzes to do chapter by chapter by chapter. Now, go away from the sections and go to just the practice exam. What this is going to do is it's going to take 35 random questions out of the whole book and start asking you randomly. It will no longer be in order. You could get a chapter 8 question to begin with, and then followed by chapter 1. This is going to help you retain that information you've just been reading for the last 4 weeks. So, next week is our testing session. Hey guys, you have a couple homework assignments to do. The first is that FRN number. Now, this is how to get your FRN number. The FCC's is very hard to navigate through. So the simplest thing, go to Google, the almighty Google, search FCC FRN registration. It'll take you right to the page to register for your FRN number. It is. It's the number one first option right there. Fill out the registration form. It is going to ask for your social security number. Don't worry, they do not sell it. It's the FCC, the federal government. They already know. They don't care. You'll either need to, You'll either need to print or write down this FRN number. You need to bring it into class next week. You cannot take your test without this number. So if you guys need some help doing it here in class today, we can. Pretty simple to get to the page. If you need help at home, just give us a shout, send me an email, something like that. We'll get to it. You have to bring stuff in next week. These are things that we have limited supplies of. If you can bring it in, it'd be better. You need to bring multiple number 2 pencils. Mechanicals work as well. They need something that's easily erasable. So if you mess up on your test, you can erase the deal. All this test is, thank you for coming in, Dad. Dad's taken out, he's gonna go home. When you take the test, you'll have a booklet that have all the questions in it with the A, B, C, D answer. And it's just like the ACT things. They'll say question 1, A, B, C, D, and have circles underneath it. When you say, I want to answer question 1 as B, you fill in the circle B completely. They go through with their little chart things that go on it, and they'll see if you got it right, quick and easy. It's like I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, whichever ones you get right, they go through. So it's just like that. Your answer sheet, when you look at it, will actually have 50 questions. Do not worry, you don't need to answer 50 questions. On the extra class exam, it's a 50 question test, so they just print the same sheet for every test. There is a line right below 35 that signifies the technician stops here, the general stops here. So when you get that sheet, don't say, I only need 35. You only need 35. No. I'm going to confirm this with our tester. If they did change their policy, if you missed the exam by 1 question, it's a 75% for your pass. If you miss it by 1, if they change their policy, they'll allow you to retake the test here. If they didn't change your policy, you cannot retest same day. If you don't pass the test on Friday, you're eligible for retest Saturday morning. So, and we can help you find other places. I hope that we don't have to do that. From what you guys have been, all the light bulb moments for the last 2 days have gone up. I'm thinking you guys are going to do good. I'm very happy for it. So bring in pencils for that. Make sure you bring a pen in addition, because there are forms that you have to fill out before the test, and they have to be in ink, because those get sent to the federal government people, and for some weird reason they don't like pencil for whatever reason they think. So make sure that you bring a pen for that. Bring in a simple calculator. Memory's cleared. We do have some stock of these. So if for this class, Maria will cover these calculators for you. So just come in and we'll give you a calculator you can use in class. Make sure you bring your brain full of knowledge. I know we've been pushing on as much knowledge as we can, but make sure it's fully come in. And then again, that FRN number has to come in. If you don't have that, you cannot test. Are there any questions regarding any of that before we need to bring in next week? Are there any questions on what's expected when you take the test? So there are 25 renditions of the Element 2 technician test, which means that there are 25 different set of questions. It may be that Jeff has the same questions that you have, but they're all randomly mixed together, or maybe you two have completely different questions all the way around. We have absolutely no idea which questions are in which element, because that's all the VE examiners, and literally they just reach in and say, what's the number 4? What's the number 20? What's the number 1? That's how they do. They don't even know who gets what. And then they write down on their sheets, so when you bring it. They will not give you the same test. So if they give you booklet 4, or you may be completely better. You may miss a perfect score by 1 because it's all the questions you know. But yeah, if you get booklet 4, they'll bring up booklet like 28 or 25 or whatever the number will be. And make sure that you get a completely different booklet answer to go there if they've changed their policy. Don't know if they've done that or not. When you guys come next week, we are going to do kind of like what we did to start today's class. When you come sit down. We're going to have it's a table discussion, work table discussion. We'll be sitting here answering all the questions. We're going to use all the whiteboards. This is your time. For a whole hour, you guys get a review session. The good thing is, I don't have to bring my equipment anymore, so I don't have to use microphones for all that. This is literally just for you guys. We'll use the boards. I have all the slides still, so if you say, hey, back on the first day when we were talking about the brown shirts for this problem, we can even bring up that actual slide for that time. And we will, the way we have it set up, Will saw it last time we did this. All three of us instructors will be fielding questions at the same time. So if Jeff's got a particular thing on the rules, and I have to go look it up, Will could take another question and work on that while I'm researching and getting the answer for that question to make sure we have all the right stuff. So it's not like one of those, yeah, can I, and then wait 6 hours for your response. We will be rolling through this for that whole hour. Please bring questions. I know you guys have been asking a lot of questions this whole class, which is awesome, but bring questions to this as well. Yeah, it still works. Yep. Like what happened last time in Will's class, the whole class was acted like you guys asking questions throughout the whole class. We get to the review session, dead silence all across the board. We're like, okay, so we started just quizzing them. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And we've been running through that concept. So if you have time to fill, we'll quiz you. What's going to happen for the test? This room is going to be the actual test room. Nothing's going to be on the walls. It's going to be as blank can be. All this stuff, you can't have anything on the tables. Everything has to be put away and all that. What we're going to do is all the stuff you guys bring, we're actually putting it in this next room over here. When we work with the EOC, we get both rooms included. You'll come in here, we'll do the review, you can move all your stuff in there. Once we start the testing, what's going to happen is Dennis is our leader, our lead tester, lead. He will explain how the situation is going to go. You're going to get all stuff in there, come in here, sit down, listen to him, listen to all the instructions. As soon as he says we're starting, it is a quiet room. You'll come in here and take your test. The examiners are going to be along this table here. They have to be in the same room when you guys are taking the test. When you're done with the test, you take your technician as your first exam. If you want to, and we highly recommend you doing this, take your general exam after your technician just to see where you are. It does not cost anything extra. It doesn't hurt you in any way. We start testing at 6 o'clock at night, and we have the room until 9 o'clock at night. We have 3 hours for the testing session. We will nowhere near be the 9 o'clock hours when we're done. So take your tech. They're going to ask you, do you want to attempt your general? I highly recommend taking the general just as a where am I? And he didn't study for the general exam. You could go in there and say, hey, I only missed my general by 1. Maybe I want to get more bands like what Dad was using on his truck, the 20 meter, 40 meter, that's general class privileges. So if you guys think, I really would like to talk around the world, I kind of like that idea. You can upgrade to general. If you go into general and you only get 1 right, maybe general is not quite for you right now, but study up and get it. For the last 2 attempts, I've taken my general exam. I've missed it by 1 for 2 attempts. And next week will be attempt number 3, and I'm hoping to get my general license because I've got some good equipment sitting and waiting for me to actually have my license. Yep. So what they'll do for the brain dump that we were talking about, on the back of your answer sheet, that's where they will bring it back. Yeah, because they identify this as blank. When they hand it to you, that is your brain dump. And as soon as they say line up here, it's an instant quiet room. So that means as soon as you sit down, you can brain dump. There's no, please sit down and wait until we begin the test. It's when you stand up to get the test, it is you start. As soon as you sit back down, your testing time has started. It's not like the SAT or ACT where it's timed. You have 4 hours exactly to finish it because no one can ever finish it in that weird amount of time kind of deal. No. The longest I've ever seen anyone take on a technician element 2 test, that's what you guys are about to take, was 39 minutes. The longest I've seen. And this, yeah, well, no, this kid was very methodic. he would circle in the bubble to where it was like perfectly circled in, like a computer was about to read it. That's why it took. The reason why we give you guys so much time for this isn't because we expect you to take all 3 hours. It's so that there's no pressure on time. Most of these testing sessions that actually happen out in the normal world, they only have an hour and a half reserved on their testing time. 30 minutes for them to do their spiel and an hour for the testing session. Yes, so we'll... Yep, so they'll be over here doing their thing. When you're done with your test, you'll join the other instructors because I am not allowed in this room when you guys take the test. Neither is Will and neither is my dad. Only the examiners. Once he says begin, we have to go into the other room because what it is the way that's set up. As the instructor, I cannot have any hidden signals that I could possibly give you the right answer to a specific question. So we go into the next room. You come join us. We have the door closed. We can all talk normally, mingle. Hey, what did you think? How did you feel? You can even say, well, you know, on that question that said blah, 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 it was this. I answered and say, oh, well, that actually was right. Or if it wasn't right, you at least know you got one wrong. Nope. 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 So that's why we're in the next room after you're done. But, again, take that general test, just see where you are. Oh, yeah, as soon as you hand in the technician. Yep, it's just like that. And then while you're taking the general test, they're grading the technician. Now, if for some weird circumstance, and I've seen this happen before, this guy actually studied for his technician general, studied because he was going to go for his general because his dad was a general and that's what he wanted to do. He went in, took a technician test, got the general, went there, but he was so hyper-focused on the general stuff, he failed his technician exam, passed his general. He left with no license. In order to advance the general. Yeah. So, because he hyper-focused on the general, he failed the tech. Since we are training you guys for technician, there's no worry, there's no pressure. So, they'll grade it. What was really bad was they finished grading it, he came up all happy with the general, and they said, you missed it by 3. And he's like, you haven't graded it yet. No, you missed your technician by 3. What? He was not happy. They went through it and he passed his general. But he didn't get the license. Nope, they cannot tell you that either. They don't even tell me. So, if you just do the technician and you go and sit down with us, it'll take about 5-10 minutes. If you sit down and do the general, the technician will be graded by the time you're done with the general, and then you go sit down with us in the other room. Now, 7. We had 7 in there, and we were done by 8 o'clock. Yep. And what will happen is there is 3 VE examiners. They will have the ones grading here, and if they're not currently grading one, they'll send that extra one into our room and say, Jeff, you passed your technician, here's your license stuff, here's all the paperwork that you need. We'll go to each one. I'm sorry, you didn't pass the technician, you missed it by 1. Here's what we can all do. And they have another testing session in November. that they'll do theirs because they're on odd months. So they'll tell you our next testing session that is with that same VE team is at this time, or if you miss it by one, our policies change. Come on back in, and we'll let you take the next technician test again and try it again. They're only allowing one retake if they've changed the rules by then. They don't know if they'll actually have it changed by then, and I will know that day of when they walk in. So after all the things are graded, they will inform me if we are going to wait here. If everyone's graded and you all pass, which we all know they're going to pass, right? Yeah. When you all pass, they're going to try and submit the paperwork Friday night. If they submit it in on time, we only have to wait 40 minutes, and you'll get your hand radio license when you walk out the door. Yep, you'll actually get your call sign handed to you as you walk out the door. Yep. Yeah, that's what happened. Last time they didn't know if they could do it, so we just sent everyone home. They submitted. Oh, hey, look, we got the results. Okay, here's the call signs for everybody. So this time they said we're going to wait and see if we can actually get you guys your call sign on the way out. It'll be the first class to actually get the call sign on the last day. So I know Jeff's going to get it. I know you two are going to get it. And I know you're going to get it. And I know Will's going to upgrade. And I'm hopefully going to upgrade. You done, Jeff? You done? No. We're done. Yep. You're welcome. Yeah, next week, don't be late. Yeah, give me a call. So, with that, we're good to go. We're good to go. Everyone's ready for next week. Oh, hey, Jeff. Come back 1 second. So, Jeff, get back in here. Thank you. In the back of those booklets is those 2 pieces of paper that has the information that we need from you. Please turn those in tonight. So if you can fill that out and turn them in tonight. I forgot to tell you guys that when we first started the class today, because next week we're so hectic, we can't get a hold of those papers. Okay? Sorry, Jeff. At least I caught you on the way out. I know. Can you take 5 minutes? All right. For the online class, we're done. For in-person, please fill those out. Thank you guys so much. And good night to the online.